to myself, what a wonderful world.
Happy Sensational Saturday. Happy Celebration Saturday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, everyone. What is happening today on our coaching conversations and coffee? Today on our coffee coaching and conversations live stream, we're going to talk about anger. Yay. Who here is got like a lot of residual anger from their divorce? Drop an A in the comments for anger. I want to know who you are. If you are on, present yourself in the comments. Let me know where you're coming in from. Let me know if you want to be pulled up so we can have a conversation. I would much prefer a conversation than me talking just at people for an hour, which I do, but I prefer a conversation. All right, so we're going to be talking about anger, but before we get to that, today I have my usual latte creamy coffee. I have an interesting mug today. All right, so I used to work for a company called US Assist, which is no longer around. And they have this, I don't know if you guys can see this logo, but at the bottom it says people, and then performance going up, and then quality, like it's unlimited. And so I designed this logo. This is when I was in my 20s. Like, it's not that great. Like, I'm not like asking for accolades, like everything. They had a logo contest. And I entered and I designed this logo. And I think I might have even done this part too. Values in motion. This was it's 1996. You can even see I was young. And they asked for submissions for the logo contest, and I designed the logo and I won. And as a result, the logo was printed on shirts and mugs, and I got a mug with the logo. This was the company US Assist, but I don't think they're in existence anymore. And I got they got absorbed by someone, and then I got the mug. So I don't have a t-shirt or anything else. I had like 4 mugs. I think I'm now down to 1 over the years since then, 1 or 2. So awesome. A little bit about coffee and my mug choice today. So I wanted to chat a bit about anger. And I think it's because how we deal with there's a lot of anger after divorce. Let's keep it 100. Who here was not angry after divorce? Put a P in, like peaceful. You were peaceful. I want to know who you are, because I would definitely like to bring you up. I was angry. I wasn't like malicious, I was about to say I wasn't argumentative, but I was. Like, I want to be truthful about it. I had moments. We didn't have a lot of blow-ups. We had enough of them. Let's put it that way. Jenny, hey, how are you? So we didn't have a lot of blow-ups, but we had enough of them. But anger tends to be one of the big things that happens after your divorce. And managing the anger after divorce is really can be really problematic. Some people, we talked last week about the 7 stages of grief, and some people get in that anger stage and they hang there for a minute. I don't think I was in that stage for very long, but I'm not going to lie and say I wasn't angry. Some people, before they got married or during the marriage, became angry. Like, that's a part of who they were, like, or are. And so after the marriage is over, they really hung out in that marriage. And you got to know who you are, whether you were an angry person or not, to know if that's who you are. But a lot of people hang out in the anger stage. And if you don't dissipate that, it colors how you process your divorce. It colors how you live your life after that. It colors your next relationship. It colors how you deal with your children, because all that anger is still stuck within you. And then all you're doing is basically spewing it out randomly. It's kind of like a Uzi. You just spray the area, right? You get pissed off and you just let people have it. Well, that's not a function of, you're the constant in your own experience. It's not a function of people they just piss me off. They're always doing, like, nobody's walking around thinking to themselves, how can I piss you off today? Like, nobody thinks, how can I piss Ivy off today? I don't think they do. If they do, I would like to know who thinks I'm that important that they need to piss me off. That would be an interesting conversation. But nobody really walks around thinking those things. We have a response or reaction to people because those feelings, issues, challenges are inside of us. And when people poke on them deliberately, not deliberately, unconsciously, consciously, that's just what comes out. So you have to think of it like an orange. If you squeeze an orange, all you will ever get is orange juice. You might get a couple seeds and some pulp, but you're only going to get what an orange has to give. What happens when people squeeze you? What do you get? And for some people, it's anger, and they just let you have it. So we'll talk a little bit about today, how to dissipate the anger, how to move through the anger. And I'm not saying you shouldn't feel it. I'm not even saying you shouldn't be angry. Some people have relationships where the anger is very justifiable. And some people have relationships where the anger isn't justifiable. They were already angry. And so it didn't matter what the person did. Anger was what they were going to get, because when you squeeze them, that's what you get. So has anybody ever been like so angry where it's like uncontrollable? Like you can't even see it coming. Like you can't believe you went there. Anybody was like, to put a I went there in the comments. Like there are moments where I can remember this was about my marriage, but it wasn't with my former spouse. It was actually with my sister. And I remember I went there. I was furious with her, furious, because I just couldn't handle the comments, the feedback that was coming at me. She was right, by the way. She was right. Not the point. I was shut down. And so what happened was, because I was shut down and couldn't have a healthy conversation with her, the conversation that I had with her wasn't a really great one. And so I went there. I was furious. I don't remember, I can share this with you. I do not remember feeling fury very many times in my life where I was like you can feel it in your body, where your body is like tight with anger, fury, like just raw emotion. I don't remember very many instances of feeling that way. That's one of them. And the reason I remember it so vividly is because I remember how I felt in my body. Anybody else ever felt fury? Drop an F in the comments. Like you're furious. You were furious. And that's different things. Oh, hey, Rosalind. There's a lot of people on here today. Anyway, so if you felt that kind of fury in your life, like drop an F in the comments. Because there's been times where there are not very many, but like you can feel it in your body is shaking with anger or tight with anger, or you can't even think, like you literally see red, or you don't even see a color. You don't see the person, like there's kind of this glazing over of who you are because you're in the anger or fury moment. If you've had that, drop an F in the comments. That in that instance, after the fact, I didn't realize it in that instance. All I could think about was, I guess, the phrase, how dare you, or you can't do this to me, or it was some unjustified, like I can't even remember. I was just furious. In those moments, it's best to walk away, but most of us don't, because when those emotions take over, we're just there with it. We just are there with it. And that's okay. You're human. The thing that you have to do, though, when you have those moments, is you have to understand why you had those moments. You have to process those moments, and then you got to go back and clean it up with the person, should you choose to, especially if it's a person you want in your life and you're going to have a relationship with your life. In this case, it was my sister. I did want a relationship with her, so I had to go back and clean that up. My point is that what I had to do was notice where I'm angry, why I was angry, and what was that about. Because it wasn't really about that interaction. It was a buildup to stuff. She said something and then I unloaded, and there's how it goes. That's often what happens in divorce. It happens in relationship breakup. It happens in everyday relationships when you're doing that. And so it's super important that you acknowledge for yourself, where is the anger coming from? Why did I go there? If you are here, present yourself in the comments. Please say hello so I can see it and acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge the people that are on here. I just saw somebody else join. So this is why it's important to recognize places you're angry. Now, ideally, You want to recognize your anger when you're sitting alone. I mean, you may not, but you ideally want to be like, yeah, I'm really angry about whatever. Do it in therapy. You do it with a coach. You do it in group therapy sessions. You want to recognize the places that you're angry. The reason being is because you'll have an opportunity to deal with that when it comes up in real life situations. Most of us get into the anger. You have a conversation with somebody and you blow up. They push some button, you don't know what the button is, and you explode. It's just an explosion. Once you've exploded, it's out there. Then they may be triggered, right? Some people can't handle being yelled at. Some people can't handle, getting that kind of, processing that kind of anger. Some people are really good at it. Some people can just be like, I got it. I hear you're angry, and they can move with it through you. I would say the best of us can be with the person and be a container for their emotion. I try to do that with people. I allow them to have their expression of emotion, let them be angry. It's fine. That's where they are. The rest of us can't. We get triggered. So I'm really good as a coach in doing that in session. In my personal life, I'm really good at it, but I'm not perfect. I get triggered too. Everybody has a button that somebody pushes on, purposefully or not purposefully, and then you just off to the races. You're off to the races. So what's important is for you to notice where you are angry in your life, who you're angry with, and to resolve that anger so that when you're at work, when you're talking with your partner, when you're talking with your kids, when you're talking with your ex, when you're talking with your boss, that doesn't back up on you. Because as I said before, what do you get when you squeeze an orange? Orange juice. What do you get when you squeeze you? You're going to be squeezed. Life is going to happen. Somebody is going to say something you don't like at some point in your life, and you're going to go there. Now, in particular, if you're divorced, these conversations, especially in the very beginning, it's like everything they say takes you there. It's like you can't help. I always say, we always joke about that. If you take that bus, you get there. It's like you can't help but get on that bus. You can't help but get on that bus. So if you're getting on the anger bus and you're going there, the thing that you need to do is create space in your life where you can reflect. We talked about that last week. If you don't have any reflection, pain plus reflection equals progress. You can't progress beyond your anger if you're not reflecting, why am I angry? And what you will discover for many of us is it's got nothing to do with your ex. You've got issues that made you angry before he or she showed up into the picture. Now, when they say what they say, do what they do, it's a trigger and you're there. Now, that may be the case for some issues, and some issues are born out of your marriage. You were never that way before. This person gaslighted you, or maybe they're a narcissist, or maybe your communication, they don't even forget that they're I'm not even saying that they're bad, that they have some issues, or you guys had issues together as a couple. And every time you talk, or every time there's something comes up, you're triggered, right? That's totally okay. That's just the way it is. Every time y'all have a conversation, the key is to really create space. How do you create space? You create it and take it, right? If you're a person that's going through divorce, one of the biggest challenges I see in the aftermath of that is not taking space for healing, not getting space for healing. Let me share more about what I mean by that. When I got divorced, and I see this in so many other women, we get task oriented. We got the kids, we're trying to move, got our job, take care of a household, managing money, all of that. You don't really think about yourself. You don't really think about your healing. You don't really think about, I need to cry, I need to journal, I need to do all of this stuff to process all of what's happened to me, because you're in task mode. You're trying to create a new life and build a new life, and you're in getting it done, getting it done, getting it done. Your mind tells you you have less support, you have less money. And I say your mind tells you because it's not true. You can create more support, you can create more money. There's nothing you can't create, attract, achieve, become, move forward. You can do anything you want to do, right? Which is important that you understand that. That's why I say that. But your mind is telling you all these things because in the moment, that's your reality, right? You've lost something, whether it's financial, you've lost a partner, you've lost a home potentially, financial support, you've lost a lot of things. So anyway, your mind is telling you all that. And so then you get task specific. You're not strategic. You're in survival mode. I need to feed my kids. I need to make sure I keep my job and make sure I keep my benefits. I need to make sure we have a nice, safe place to live. You get very task focused. That's fine. You have to do that. Those are survival things. Once those things are intact, what typically happens is they become a coping mechanism for you not to deal with and process what's happened in your marriage. You tell yourself, once again, I'm saying it because it's not true, I don't have time. All of my energy goes towards these kids, whether you have 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids. Some of us have a lot of kids. It doesn't matter. I only had 1. So I know people will say, well, you don't know, I have 4 kids. I know. Listen, I know women that have built $1 million businesses with 5 kids. If they can build a business with 5, 6, 7, 8 kids, and it's $1 million business, you can take 10 minutes for yourself and process your grief, process your anger around your divorce. It's what you tell yourself. It's what you tell yourself. You must find a way to create and take a space, a moment, pause to process what you've gone through. And in particular, anger. Anger has to dissipate. Emotions are energy in motion. Anger is a big chunk of energy in motion. It's not going to sit on the shelf in your chest for very long. Eventually, it's going to have to find a way out. It's too powerful. It's too big. It's a large thing. It's like sadness. Anger often turns into sadness, which turns into depression because it's unexpressed. There's nothing wrong with being angry. You are human. We all get angry. Not a big deal. The point is, the issue is really, you need to give yourself permission to be angry, express that anger so that the anger can move through you and move on. And then you get a different perspective. You get to deal with your sadness and grief around the loss instead of just staying in the anger mode. Furthermore, it facilitates you having a better relationship with your former spouse because you've got a co-parent together for some of us. Or even if you don't want to co-parent, even if you don't have to co-parent, maybe your children are grown and this is a gray divorce, it doesn't matter. You still have assets to separate. Or even if you're moving them out of your life, you don't want to carry your anger. Some of you want to be in another relationship. You want to have a good relationship with your kids. You want to have good relationships with other people. You don't want to be carrying that anger around. It's like a backpack on your back. And then what happens is there's like a ticking time bomb, and then it explodes whenever somebody, pokes on that pressure point that you have refused to deal with over your life, over the marriage, or it might even be over your lifetime. The marriage just brought it out. And I would say that for a lot of us, like I was talking about, the only thing you get from an orange is orange juice, right? Sometimes the marriage just brings out what was already there. I mean, I'd like to think that I wasn't an angry person, but if I'm honest, there's probably some moments, I can think of some moments as I look back on my childhood where I really was pissed off and I never dealt with it. I didn't know how to deal with it. We didn't get counseling back then. And so, yeah, in my marriage, it felt like you're doing that thing that happened when I was a kid, and now I'm pissed at you and this is all your fault. It happens. That's a very human thing. But if you do not create space to look at, be with the anger you have around your divorce and around your life, you're just going to be an angry person, which ultimately can lead to bitterness, or you go the other way, sadness and depression, right? Who wants to be that person? I don't want to be that person. Anybody wants to be that person? There you have it. So the first thing is create space to deal with anger. Take 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you got. Get up early in the morning, take a walk, walk around your house. I'm a 10K stepper a day. And if I'm close and I need another 500 or 1,000 steps, I walk in my house. I just pace. I walk in circles. I walk back and forth. I walk from the kitchen to the bedroom and then back again. Use that time to think. Think. If you can't create space like physically where you're alone, create it in the moment. Once the kids go to bed, walk around your place if you can't leave, or put in headphones and say, this is mommy's quiet 5 minutes. Mommy needs 5 minutes of quiet time. and you put the headphones in, put some relaxing music on, you create space and you just sit with yourself. You have to get used to being one of the hardest things I think in divorce is for people to get used to being with themselves, being alone. You are so used to having a partner. Then if you don't have a partner, you're so used to having your kids. We don't take enough space to be with ourselves. And it's in this space when you're being with yourself that you can really look at your anger. You have an opportunity to look at your anger. When you're looking at your anger, you get to really see, yeah, that really, and just reflect the last time you were angry with your partner or the last time you were angry, period. It could be that you got angry with your kids that day and you don't know why. They didn't take out the trash and it really pisses you off. I mean, well, they hardly ever take out the trash. Why do you keep getting pissed off? And that's a really good example. And I'll share with you why. I often do that. So my daughter, she takes out the trash and often she doesn't do it in a timely fashion. And I really get irritated with her. Why do I get irritated? So what's underneath that? So then I peel back the layer. I feel like it's disrespectful. Peel back another layer because she knows she's supposed to do it and she doesn't do it. I feel like it's inconsiderate. She knows how I feel about it and she doesn't do it. And when I feel like people are inconsiderate and disrespectful, I don't feel like she loves me, right? Like when you start peeling back the layer, what's that really about? If she really loved me, she'd take out the trash on time. Well, is that really true? No, I know my daughter loves me. She doesn't want to, who wants to take out the trash? Who wants to wash the dishes? Nobody wants to do it, but I'm collapsing a task with her love or being respected. And when that happens, I get pissed off. Taking out the trash has nothing to do with how my daughter feels about me. It has more to do with how she feels about the trash. But if I collapse that in my mind, then what happens is taking out the trash becomes a reflection of how she feels about me. And suddenly now I'm pissed off because it's not about the trash, it's about something else. Now, that's like a really super mild, example. We do that all the time, where ultimately it's not really about the thing. It's about how it makes you feel. The trash is the trash. Nobody not taking out the trash doesn't really mean anything ultimately. It's what you make it mean. Now, there is something to be said. People will say, I take out the trash because I love you, but that's because they're connecting the act with an act of service. It's their love language. It's who they are. They now understand how you equate it. They've actually come up with a value system that makes it so even though it sucks to take out the trash, they do it because it keeps the peace in the relationship and it's a reflection of, they know that, they're with that and all that. But that's not how it works every day. How it works every day is we ask a child, a partner, somebody, a boss, a coworker to do something. And when they don't do it, we take it personally, like they're sitting around trying to screw us over, piss us off, tell us we're not loved, disrespect us, be rude and all that. Nobody's thinking about that. People don't do what they do or do what they do because of their own reasons. It's typically got nothing to do with you. I don't like taking out the trash. I don't want to do this task. I'm pissed that my boss gave me this task. I'm going to take my time doing it. I know it affects you, but I don't care. This is a dig at that person, not at you. Like there's a bunch of reasons that have nothing to do with anybody else, but we take it that way and it pisses us off. It pisses us off and makes us angry because it's got something to do with something else. You've equated feelings to certain acts or feelings around care to certain acts, and you collapse that. Maybe because when you were a kid, your father took out the trash and that's how you knew he loved you. Maybe it's because when you were a kid, you washed the dishes and that was respectful. To not wash the dishes in your house was disrespectful to your mom and your father never tolerated it or whatever. Like it's equating to something else. It's got nothing to do with it. And you can see that in modern day. How many ways were you parented and you don't parent your kids that way? Because it's like, I don't agree with that. I don't even think that matters, right? Which has nothing to do with your parents. It has to do with how you feel now, which is what I'm saying. 90% of the time when we have these feelings about things, it's got nothing to do with the person who's doing them. And I'm not saying that what they're doing isn't rude or disrespectful. It actually might be. But most of the time, it's got nothing to do with what they're doing. It's got to do with how you process that within yourself. And you see this all the time. Somebody, you'll say, were they rude? You ask, why? Because your friend isn't triggered. Your friend's going, no, I don't think they were rude. I think they were in a rush. I don't feel like they were rude. They've moved on. You are seething because you feel disrespected. That's what I'm talking about. It's got nothing to do with the person, because everybody else is all right. You're the one that's upset. So it is important that you create space to reflect. This is what the space is about. I don't care how you create it. You need to create it. If you do not take the time to process the emotions from your divorce or any tough situation, it just sits there and lives with you, and then it seeps out or explodes out into other scenarios in your life, which is not what you really want to do, right? Number two, take the space. Number two, find a way to dissipate the anger. So I did it through working out, kickboxing, running. Running is arduous. I did sprints, like sprint and then jog and then sprint. I took boxing classes. I started lifting weights because I needed the energetic expulsion of it. You can beat pillows. You can go in the woods and crash dishes. I've screamed in my car. You have to find a way to discharge the anger, and not at people, but in a healthy way so that it's not sitting there. Anger, like I said, is energy in motion. It's an energetic. You need to dissipate it so that it is able to be discharged and move on. If you kind of sit there with it and you're just angry all the time, it just kind of gets to a boiling point till you explode. That's how you get to fury. So how I got to fury was being angry at a lot of different people, including my former husband, and not talking about it. I wasn't in therapy then. I think this was really at the beginning. I just found out some things and I was just angry and furious. I don't think I told people I was angry and I didn't even tell people I was angry. I acted like, you guys heard me say, I think last week, everything was all right until that moment. And it was in that moment that I realized I was actually furious, right? That's when it dawned on me, you are really angry about this. You need to get some support. So you work out, right? I worked out. You can do whatever it takes. For women, maybe it's the ugly cry, a loud cry, a screaming cry. Maybe it's journaling. I liked working out. I liked being physical because I need that. I recommend being physical because you need it. It's anger is often stored at the cellular level. It's an energetic. It needs to be dissipated. However, you need to do that. Arduous working out, beating pillows, get a wiffle bat, do whatever you need to do. Right? So you need to dissipate it. So then once it's dissipated, what'll happen is when you're not just angry, like that's the dominant emotion, it's a permanent state. Have you ever met, drop AP if you've met an angry person, their dominant emotion, way of being, constant experience, your constant experience of them is they are angry. You don't know a time when they're not angry. Drop AP, angry person in there. Like, you know, an angry person. Everybody has somebody they know that has a dominant way of being. They're an angry person. That's who they are. Like, yeah, they got anger issues. In fact, you know, if you go with them anywhere, you guys have to come up with a plan so that so-and-so doesn't get pissed off, or so-and-so gets pissed off, and that's fine. You put them in the front because they're going to get you the table. They're going to get you in. They're going to make a scene or whatever. You know somebody like this. Drop AP in the comments. Everybody knows an angry person, right? So the next step is you got to recognize, once you've gotten space and you've dissipated anger, what will happen is you'll begin to recognize anger when you see it in yourself. Because it's not there all the time. When it's there all the time, you can't see it. You're just exploding all over people. It's just the way you are. You don't even think there's anything wrong. And if some people, if they're like, you know, got a lot of angry stuff going on, you might not even, I'm not angry. You might get defensive and get angry at that. I'm not an angry person. You're an angry person. I don't understand. Why would you say that to me? That's my point. If it's your dominant emotion, you will not see it because you're always that way, right? But once you have space, you've dissipated the anger, you will recognize when it comes up again, which that's the number 3, you begin to recognize it. If you can recognize it, number 4 is you can control it. And by control, I mean, recognize that you're angry and either get support, you can go back to dissipating it, you can take some space, you can acknowledge it. When I'm pissed now, I go, this is really pissing me off, or I'm angry about this. And I own the communication. You can actually say, I'm angry about this. I'm super pissed off about this. This isn't going to come out well. You're going to have to bear with me as I navigate through communicating this to you from this emotional state. And people just, they honor it, because I'm not being angry at them or on them. I'm owning that I have these emotions, and this is not going to come out like, it's not going to be a clean conversation. I'm telling you right now, like, it's just not, because I'm pissed. Or I'll just say I'm pissed and this is not a good time to talk about this. I need time to process this. But that gives you options. You can respond. You can choose to control it. You do not have to blob, to blurt out filth, filth and nastiness or anger. You don't have to dump on people. And that's what the recognition gives you. It gives you an opportunity to control or respond instead of react, right? And once you have the opportunity to control, you can choose your response, and you can choose to own it. You can choose to walk away. You can choose to stay in the conversation, owning that you're angry. You have some choices there. You can choose to excuse yourself, get back to them. You can choose to be like, this is at the fury level. I need to dissipate. Then I can come back. I can speak from anger, but I'm not going to talk to this person while I'm furious. You get a lot of choices, but you have zero choices if you're just angry and you're just in the angry or furious mode, and you got to let that go. You got to let that go. And if you don't choose to let it go, then what happens is it backs up on you, not just as you move through co-parenting with your former partner, dealing with your children who are the offspring of that former partner. It backs up there. It backs up in other aspects of your life, your work. It backs up with your friends. And it definitely shows up when you try to create a new relationship with the person. It's there. You're an angry person, or you're like a ticking time bomb. You are waiting for your partner, your new partner, to hit that button, and then kaboom, you are off to the races. So if you're angry about your divorce, hey, congratulations, you recognize it. I think that's a good thing. Now you get to take responsibility for it. There's nothing wrong with emotions, but what we tend to do with emotions is dump them on people and not be responsible for them. And even that can be okay in the right settings and the right forums if you're responsible for them. You can't just, it's like, you ever have that friend that calls you up and they just unload, and then after a while you stop taking their calls because all they do is unload on you. It's overwhelming. They're like, use you as a dumping ground for their emotional baggage. That's how you get rid of the baggage, is first of all, stop being a dumping ground for other people, but stop holding on to the emotions and putting them in a backpack. When you're not taking the space and dissipating and reflecting and looking at this, basically you're like putting all those feelings in a backpack and a trunk, putting them on your back, and then you're just carrying around luggage. It's like luggage. You have to clear the space, clear your space. And the way you clear your space is to own how you feel and give yourself permission to work through those feelings. That's it. This isn't hard. It's like not a hard thing to do, like in that it's difficult, but it can be challenging because emotions are sometimes places we don't want to go. We don't want to feel. Like nobody wants to feel the sadness over the loss of their divorce. But if you don't take a moment to feel it, you'll just keep feeling it years. And you like let's put it this way. If you have a really good a dish, you go to a restaurant, you get something, your favorite thing, piece of chocolate cake, molten chocolate lava cake. I love this. You take it home. You put it in your refrigerator. And it sits there because you forget about it. It's still in the back of your refrigerator. It's getting moldy. It stinks. It's wilting. It's still in your refrigerator. And you've put new food, taken out old food and all that, and you keep wondering, why does your refrigerator stink? And it's because there's something old and moldy and disgusting back there that you refuse to deal with. You have to throw it out, clean it up. Emotions are like that. If you do not deal with whatever that is sitting in the back of your heart, your mind, your spirit, then it just stinks. And it's going to come out every time you open yourself up, because it's a place in you you haven't dealt with, not you refuse, you haven't dealt with. And when that happens and somebody mentions, wow, that's really stinky, or wow, what is that in the back there? You get defensive. What do you mean? What's that in the back there? I don't see anything in there. There's nothing back there. You have to deal with it. You have to throw it out. You have to clean it up. You have to deal with it. And the best way to do that is to create a space in your life. And I get it. I see women going through divorce all the time, and between the kids and their job and creating their new life and dealing with the finances and dealing with being, a new homeowner or an apartment owner, or having less house, more house, and all the challenges that goes with it, it's overwhelming. But I'm encouraging you, because I'm saying to you, don't tell yourself you're overwhelmed. Tell yourself that you just need a minute, and take it. I just need a minute. When you get those feelings, tell yourself, I just need a minute. Go off, feel the feelings, breathe through it, acknowledge that they're there. If you have time, journal about them. If you have time, take a walk. If you have time, call a lifeline, call a therapist, call a coach. If you have time, call a group. If you have time, go to a group meeting. Whatever you can make space for, make the space to feel it so you can move through the emotion and it can pass through you. If you don't take the time and create the space to feel it, what happens is it just sits right here, or sits here in your gut until it's time where somebody just pokes on it or sticks a pin in it, and that balloon pops, and that's a wrap, baby. It's a wrap. We're done. Game over, man. Game over. It's a wrap. So don't let it get to that point. Create space in your life, and you can create space in your life in a lot of ways. So one of the things that I did for this year was not to rush out and do New Year's resolutions. A lot of people do New Year's resolutions. I took these few weeks of January as space. I have some goals, but I'm actually taking the space to reflect what is so important about these goals that I actually want to do them. Really getting in touch with the why. What is the ultimate end game? Do these support my end game? Do these support where I want to be at the end of the year? Instead of and I haven't created massive plans. Usually I have all these plans, and I haven't done that. Why haven't I done that? Because I need space to reflect and connect to the goals that I'm actually setting, to the intentions. What's the intention behind it? Why do I even have these goals? Why do I even have that level? Why do I have these goals? And if you're not connected to them, they don't happen. Everybody does this whole New Year's resolution thing. And what happens is they do the goals that everybody always does because people say they should do them. And they're not really goals that would make their heart sing, that sets their soul on fire. They're goals that the world says, your boss says, your spouse says, your kids say. You're not really connected to it. You don't feel empowered behind it. When that happens, the goals don't happen. Why? You're not connected to it. So take the space to connect to what it is you really want, what it is you truly desire, then those should be your goals. Another way you can create, so don't rush your process, right? That's taking space. You don't have to hurry up and get healed. You don't have to hurry up and fix something. You can actually reflect, take the time, really know how you want to deal with this, and then deal with it in a way that's meaningful or productive or supports the long game, not just the short-term gains, right? So that's what's important. The other thing is start clearing out things. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm going to clear out my closet. I'm going to clear out my office. Sometimes it's also physical space. A lot of stuff I took from my marriage. How many of you have stuff from ex-boyfriends? Get rid of that. Things from your marriage. So a lot of pictures, I didn't have a lot of pictures, and the ones I had, I pack them up. At some point, as I found them over the years, I give certain things to my daughter because she would really want those. I don't really want them. They don't have meaning for me anymore. But I didn't keep a lot of photos and things hanging up around like that. Some of the furniture, got rid of some of the furniture. Too many memories associated with it. Clothing, don't want to deal with the clothing. Books, gone. Anything that you can let go of. If it doesn't feel good, you don't like it, you don't want it, you don't need it, it reminds you of your marriage, it reminds you of your former spouse, it's too big, too little, too tight, you don't use it anymore. I'm going to go through my kitchen in a few weeks. Clean out your pantry, get rid of old food. What is it? I love, there's an episode of The Simpsons where Marge Simpson, she's praying and she goes, and I don't remember what she was praying for, but she was like, okay, God, if you make this happen, I'll give the poor food they really want instead of old canned pumpkin mix, right? So whatever that old canned pumpkin mix you have in your pantry, get rid of that. You don't need it. Or whatever's in your pantry that you don't use. It's old, it's expired. When I moved, I looked at a bunch of stuff. I was like, I couldn't believe how many like grains I had that expires. I don't eat a lot of carbs. So I had like old quinoa, old pasta. Like I just don't eat a lot of this. I don't even know why I had it. Anyway, so you throw all that stuff out. Clean out. We just talked about the refrigerator. Clean your freezer is another place. Clean out. Why? The more clarity you get in your physical environment, you begin to get clarity mentally. You begin to see spaciousness and you begin to feel more spacious. It'll be the same thing energetically if you take time. 5 minutes a day, do nothing. Becomes 10 minutes a day. Becomes a 15-minute walk. Becomes a 30-minute tea and journaling and reading session. And then what happens is all of those emotions have a place to be, a place to dissipate, and then you get clarity in your reflections. Your physical space is opening up. It's not cluttered. You don't look around and see 1,000 things to do. Your mental space is clearing up. From your mental and your physical space clearing up, you'll start cleaning up relationships. You'll own when you've been mad. You'll own when you are sad. You'll set up better boundaries with people because you'll be like, this is my time. I don't want to mess with this. Or I'm not feeling up to this. I'm feeling really sad today. I'm not going to go out with my girlfriends. Or I'm feeling really sad today and I need my girlfriends. You'll set up better boundaries. Why? Space creates the reflection time. And when you can reflect, you can progress. Everybody has pain in life, but if you don't take the space and the time to reflect and process that, it just sits there and there is no progress. And that's what you want. This is all about evolution. This is all about evolving yourself. You want to evolve yourself to the next level. And the way you do that is to create space in your life for reflection, which leads to progress. So if you've been angry around your divorce, no harm, no foul. Who isn't? Who wasn't? I asked at the beginning, if you weren't angry, drop a P in here because I want to know who was peaceful about their divorce. I mean, peaceful internally. I'm not necessarily talking about your interactions with them. They may have been peaceful, but you actually felt peace internally. Didn't have that. And there might be some people that did, but great. Share with us what you did to acquire that peace. Generally speaking, I'm a peaceful person. I live my life in peace, but that was an evolution after my divorce because my divorce challenged that sense of peace. And what happened is wherever I didn't have peace, whatever was unresolved came up in that process and I had to deal with it. I had to look at, you say you're a peaceful person, but this is where you weren't peaceful. This is where you weren't peaceful. This is where you attacked this person. This is where you yelled. Here's where you were angry. Here's where you were rude. You get to look at it, but that took reflection and a willingness to reflect upon who I was being in the divorce dynamic and to see where I was really pissed off, why I was pissed off. And then it gave me an opportunity to resolve those anger issues. Everybody has them. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be embarrassed by. You don't have to hide that. The only issue that we have around anger, at least in our country, is not creating a positive, healthy way for us to process and manage and express that with one another. Anger is a human emotion. It's actually utilitarian. It often gets us up off our ass to change things, which is great. But if you don't give yourself permission to actually feel, express, and process that, it stays stuck and trapped. And you often stay stuck in your life in the same place on the hamster wheel, really complaining. Usually what it looks like is people are complaining about how things don't go their way. Shit isn't going down. I'm tired of always being the brunt of da-da-da-da-da. You've got all this stuff, but it's about, you got to get off the hamster wheel, feel, like, express, process, reflect, on this so you can move forward and dissipate it. So that's how you move beyond the anger and get rid of that luggage. And anger is one of the biggest chunky emotions or blocks we put in that backpack. Other than, sadness, depression, there's some other ones that are really, really big. But anger is a really, really big one, because this mofo should never have done whatever he did, or this hussy should never have done what she did to me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However it is, that's the point. You got to get beyond all those things. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't, you're wrong. They probably shouldn't have done some of those things. Some of those things just on the surface are just, they weren't cool. They were disrespectful. They were rude. It was obnoxious. It was narcissistic. Not the point. The point is, it's in the past. And if you're still carrying anger around something that happened 5 years ago, even 5 minutes ago, it's a place for you to step into creating a space to feel, process, reflect, so you can progress and move on. All right. So that's what I got for you today. All right. I hope this was helpful to you. If this was helpful, as I always say, share it out with someone, right? If it was helpful or supportive of you, let me know it was supportive. If you have questions, let me know what you would have preferred that I talked about. You can DM me or send me a note about this. I would love to know that. If you think it would support somebody else, share it out with somebody. I really appreciate that. If you've not already done so, join my VIP mailing list. I like to try to keep things fresh. Any new stuff that I do, stuff that I like, is always on my VIP mailing list. And if you haven't joined my private group on NAS.io, please join my private group. We've got trainings on there. We've got resources on there, lots of stuff that you can take a look at, process. There's a live chat on there where you can interact with me directly. I do all my own chats. I don't hire people for that. So you can get access to me directly. All right. Happy Celebration Saturday. Take a moment to celebrate you wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Acknowledge yourself for something cool that you've completed, achieved, done, said, opened up about, whatever it is. Give yourself a little pat on the back, thumbs up, high five yourself, whatever it takes for you to acknowledge yourself. It is important as you progress to step into celebrating all of your wins. It lets your mind, your heart know that you are doing a great job, and it anchors in whatever that behavior is. So you want to do that. All right. So have a sensational Saturday. I look forward to seeing you guys. I think next Saturday is the last Saturday. I'm going to be doing this at 9. If you want to, yeah, it is. If you want a different time, I'm contemplating doing this either as a happy hour on a Tuesday or Sunday morning, or an earlier time on Saturday morning. I would love to hear back from you. I put a poll, it's at the top. Please cast your vote. Let me know what time would work best for you, so that I can pick a really good time for us to connect again. I like doing these. These are fun, and I'd love for people to join and engage with me more here on this channel. So, all right, have a sensational Saturday, and I will see you next week. Ciao.
I think to myself, what a wonderful world.